All right, we're going to do some work on my husband's clock. I did get a little bit of footage taking the clock apart. I did have some technical difficulties in the process, and some of the footage did not get did not turn out, but that's okay. So some of the disassembly did not come through, and some of the cleaning did not come through, and some of the cleaning I just felt would be a little too boring. But I do want to go through some of it. It is quite a process. What I did do after everything was taken apart, because this particular clock is in a glass closure, you will see everything. I made a soak with some baking soda, vinegar, and dish soap, and gave the parts a good cleaning. I purchased Neverdull, thinking that it would make the job easier cleaning up the brass pieces. And it does. It works wonders. It is a very good product. But I get migraines, and the chemical smell is just a little too much for me. So I had to stop using this. But then I did some research, and I found a product called Brasso. And let me tell you, this product is amazing. It works wonders. If you're like me and you can't handle the chemical odors of Neverdull, Brasso is a very good product. So, that being said, let's get on to the cleaning. Sometimes find it easier to just use my hand than a rag to get it down in where I need it. And this is an old clock. It has a lot of dirt on it. So what I have found, I tend to do more than one pass. Dab some of this water up. And that's looking pretty good. I think I will do one more. We'll do this side first. Then we'll probably go ahead and do another application of the Brasso. Okay. There. Look how clean that becomes. And that hasn't been polished even. But here's one part ready to go. And we'll keep cleaning away here. I've gone through and spent a fair amount of time cleaning it and polishing it and getting things all cleaned up, ready to be shown in this clock. The one last step I do have is to take a piece of pegwood. So I need to get this pegwood and do some cleaning and this lantern pinion and make sure I get the dirt and grime out of there. And what we will do is on this nice clean gear, in these lantern pinions, in between these lines, we just want to go in there and rub the pegwood and make sure that the previous cleaning I've done has gotten all the dirt and grime out. And since, let's see, can we get the camera to pick that up? There we go. See that nice black ring on the pegwood? It means that my previous cleaning did not do the good job that I thought it did. So I will just go all the way around and make sure that I get all these cleaned out nicely. And if this pegwood gets a little bit dirty, I will just take a knife and shave down the end so that I'm not smearing the dirt everywhere. But I just want to make sure everything is nice and clean before I put the clock back together. And we want everything to run smoothly. The teeth from the gear next to this will be going into these lantern pinions. So that's why we want to make sure they're nice and clean so that everything turns smoothly. Because if there is any dirt in here, it causes friction, and that friction will affect how your clock runs. So now, still a little bit dirty, but it's much better. So I will come in here with my blower, and we're going to blow this in case there were anything I knocked loose from cleaning and anything from the pegwood. And I want to work on the weight for the pendulum. I do not want to clean it all put together like this. So I do want to get this taken apart and give it a good cleaning and shining. So we are going to take a look at this so that we can get it apart and cleaned properly. Get a container to put our bits and bobs in. Now this is missing an end piece. I will have to come up with a plan for that. But in the meantime, we'll get this taken apart. And given that this is a screw or is threaded here, I'm assuming that this is going to come off. It's a bit tight, and I don't want to make any marks on this piece. So what I will do is wrap this cloth on it and then put my pliers on it. There we go. Got it to loosen up a bit. Let's see. Yep, I can move it with my fingers now. So there we have that piece off, and there's that threaded end. And the center part, it's just a little nut here on the end. And that was finger tight, so I'll take that off. Put that in my container. We'll take this little knob. So now, these are the weights, which back in the day, these were filled with mercury. Right now, they are not. This is not glass, this is plastic, And these are just fake metal capsules. But I will get this bottom piece, see if we can break it loose after sitting all this time. Oh, there we go. And once we get that done, I bet we'll be able to see the capsule part better. Yes. See how that is just a hollowed out capsule sitting inside this acrylic tube. Just to replicate what they used to do with the mercury weights. And the mercury weights were to offset differences in temperature, which caused your clock to either run fast or run slow. So by putting the mercury in there, think about using a thermometer. A thermometer has mercury in it because it is affected by temperature. So they put mercury in these weights so that if the temperature or humidity would raise, then the mercury level would raise, which would cause the weight to expand, which then helped to correct the timekeeping on the clock, where if the temperature cooled off, then the mercury would lower, and that would adjust the time as well. So it was actually a very ingenious way of controlling the temperature and your clock. But as we have now learned, mercury is not the safest thing to have laying around, so they do not have mercury in them anymore. So here again, these are threaded on. And these are like little nuts or washer spacers. And this is disassembled so that we can get it nice and clean. I want to focus on these dial pieces. And we need to be very gentle when it comes to the dial. And so what I'm going to do is just take some warm water and do a gentle cleaning on the dial and on this back plate here. And I'm going to use these soft cotton swabs with the padded end. And I have a bowl of water here. I don't want to use any harsh chemicals on this and chance taking up any of the paint on the background of the dial or any of the paint that is or was used for the numbers and indices around the clock. So right now I'm just going to use this warm water, get the surface dust off that I can, and any grime it may have built up over the years. And once that is done, I want to put it in the dish of water with some denture cleaner. I saw some other, well, they were actually watch makers doing that for the dials on pocket watches because they have very fine cracks. This is a not so fine, but the pocket watches have very fine cracks. And the reason you notice the crack on a pocket watch is that dirt gets in that crack and builds up. And by putting it in some denture cleaner, it can get inside that crack and clean out that dirt. And we cannot with our tools. So I thought I would give that a shot with this as well. I just want to try and get as much of this surface dirt off as I can before I put it in the denture soak. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, so just have regular old denture cleaner here. Bring this a little closer. We'll start this one. Bring that into soak. And then put this one in. And we'll give that a few minutes to work. Hopefully that will clean up some of the cracks in areas that I couldn't reach with these swabs. And in the meantime, what I would like to do is grease the mainsprings. Put the mainsprings out and give them a good cleaning. And I thought I had the footage of it, but I think that fell victim to my technical difficulties. But I will show you what we do from here. So I took plain old kerosene, camping kerosene or house kerosene, depending upon what it's used for, and Scotch-Brite, and went all over as far up into the coils as I could. Obviously couldn't get in too far. There's a little dust in here. But there was a little bit of rust that had built up since these have sat for a while. These are old, very old springs. So I used the Scotch-Brite, the kerosene, wiped it down, did that about 3 times. Then I took a clean cloth. I used the microfiber and wrapped it in there and ran along these coils in as far as I could go about 3 times until the cloth came off as clean as I thought it would be. It still wasn't perfectly clean, but there was very little residue coming off at that point. Now, what I'm using is just regular watch and clock grease. You can use high temperature grease, the PTFE4, but since I had this from doing watches, that's what I'm using. And I'm just using some pegwood here, put a little bit on the end, and I'm just going to run it on the edge here. And I'm just going to go on the inside of the coil. Doesn't need to be thoroughly coated. I'm not going to worry about the outside because once we wind this up inside the barrel and it starts doing what it needs to do, it will work itself all the way through. There. There's our mainspring for the strike side. And we will put that in a bag and let this sit in our bag. And let's check on our dial parts, see how they're doing. Got these tweezers out. Let's take a look here. Oh, that did an amazing job. Obviously, the cracks on this dial are larger, so they're still going to be evident, but there is a lot of dirt that came off just by sitting in there. And there's our other piece. Looks very nice and shiny. So that is definitely a good tip if you do want to get into any type of watchmaking or clock making. When you have these dial pieces, you get the surface dirt with the swabs and just plain water. Definitely not alcohol. I do have a bit of a story with that, but we'll save that for the video when I work on that watch. But this really shines up nice. Got that white very, very clean. Just looks really good. And our dial here that was, and I'm just lightly wiping, not really rubbing much. This dial, there's still some yellowing, but it is a very old clock, and it is to be expected. But look how clean that came out. I am very impressed with how that denture cleaner worked. Well, thank you for joining me on Tina's Timepieces, and please like, comment, subscribe.